Hey, everyone. Today we have some important news about Manchester United, and it involves the Brazilian player Antony. Just a reminder, if you enjoyed the video, please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. It will help us a lot. Manchester United has made an unbelievable decision regarding Antony after the Brazilian forward disappointed in his first 2 seasons in England. Now, he could end up with an unexpected outcome, which could result in a huge financial loss for Manchester United. You'll understand the full story in this video. Surprisingly, it seems that Antony's cycle at Manchester United is coming to an end, and it could have a totally unexpected conclusion. To understand how things got to this point and what the big news is, we first need to look at the beginning of Antony's journey with Manchester United. For those who don't remember, he was signed from Ajax in the Netherlands in August 2022 for an astounding €95 million, an absurd amount that made Antony the most expensive signing in the history of Dutch football at the time. Antony was doing very well at Ajax, a player who was scoring goals, providing assists, and standing out mainly for his skill. It didn't take long for him to be signed by Manchester United and soon after to be called up to the Brazilian national team, even making it to the Qatar World Cup. The thing is, Antony's first season was decent, but the second was a major disappointment. He turned out to be a player who lacked decisiveness and was also mentally weak. So, many times, he was criticized by Manchester United fans and the press because he was a player who would show off too much, dribbling a lot without turning his time on the ball into goals, assists, or dangerous plays. With Manchester United struggling throughout the season, he was heavily criticized for this, and when he had the chance to show that he had matured, it didn't happen. For example, when Doku, the Manchester City forward, tried to dribble the ball, Antony lost his temper and committed a harsh foul. So, in the end, this second season with Manchester United, which just ended, the 2023-2024 season, Antony had very poor numbers for a player who cost as much as he did. Just to give you an idea, he played 38 matches for the Red Devils, scored only 3 goals, and provided 2 assists. Now, Antony was never a prolific goalscorer, even at Sao Paulo, since he's not a central forward but a winger. But 3 goals in 38 matches is very little, especially for a player who cost as much as he did. So, much more was expected from him. Out of these 38 matches, it should also be noted that he spent most of his time on the bench, coming in at the end of some games because he was playing so poorly that he didn't have a place in Erik ten Hag's starting 11. It got to the point that during the European season, there was speculation about his return to Brazilian football. I remember very well that he was rumored to be linked with Flamengo and Sao Paulo, which is extremely premature for a player who is only 24 years old. What usually happens is that players at the top of European football return to Brazil later in their careers, or at least when they are over 30. Just look at some examples in Brazil, like Lucas Moura at Sao Paulo or Felipe Anderson now at Palmeiras. But when a player returns too early, it means he didn't succeed in Europe, like the cases of Gabigol and Pedro from Flamengo, who didn't have a good experience there and soon returned. Now, after a disappointing season and poor numbers after costing so much, Antony could be sold by Manchester United. But here's the twist, Antony could represent an enormous loss for Manchester United. According to Sky Sports, a broadcaster in Europe, Manchester United wants to sell him at any cost and doesn't want him to stay at the club for the next season. They are willing to take an unbelievable loss but not continue with him. As I said at the beginning of the video, he was signed from Ajax for €95 million. Now, according to Sky Sports, the English club is willing to sell Antony at up to a 70% discount from his original transfer fee, meaning Manchester is willing to sell Antony for up to €30 million. Such a loss for a club like Manchester United is absurd. It would be almost €70 million in losses. And €70 million is not a trivial amount. It's money that Manchester United could, for example, use to make a major signing in the transfer market, like Ugarte from PSG. I'm not saying it would be a top signing, but it's a player that Manchester United is interested in and costs exactly those €70 million. So now we need to wait and see what happens in this transfer window. But for now, no elite European team is interested in Antony. He has shown himself to be a very inconsistent player at Manchester United. Sky Sports even went further and reported that today, the club most interested in Antony in European football is a Turkish team, Beşiktaş, which is strong in Turkey and has a large fan base but isn't on the same level as teams that compete in the Champions League and fight for major titles. What will be the consequence of Antony leaving Manchester United? Of course, he could recover his form and play well elsewhere, but after disappointing there, it's hard to see him having a market with top teams. And besides not performing well at his current club, the consequence is that he will lose a lot of ground in the Brazilian national team. He hasn't been called up much recently after the 2022 World Cup and has only been called a few times. But now he's in a real slump, and there are younger players who are rising, like Savinho, who just joined Manchester City after a great season with Girona. There are also young talents emerging, like Estevao from Palmeiras, who is already highly regarded for the national team. Rafinha is still a player who seems to be liked, so Antony not only performed poorly at Manchester United but also lost his place in the Brazilian national team. Now, I'd like to know what you think in the comments. Do you think that at just 24 years old, Antony still deserves another chance in Europe with a top team, or do you think he hasn't made it there and needs to return to Brazil? Comment below. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and share it. That's it, guys. See you later, and until the next video, stay with God.